environment?
Well, we try to avoid things being too graphic, and we also avoided using any sort of vulgarity. We don't want any sort of like humor that targets individual like groups of people or anything like that.
Yeah.
So we're trying not to do anything like cruel. And it comes down to whatever we found funny.
I think I like to put my foot down a lot on things that are pandering and things that are too referential. Memes, I didn't want too many in the game.
So there's no Pepe Frog that you can shoot down?
Nope.
No.
There's some subtle nods to just like pop icons in gaming and stuff like that in the shop screen and whatnot, and some of the descriptions will have jokes and references snuck in there, but none of it's really like in your face, except I guess some of the hats.
If they were references to games, we tried to make sure they were subtle and fit the universe, but also were fun and applicable.
Yeah. So
we try to do things that people haven't done before.
Yeah.
What's an example of something that didn't make the cut?
For like just for jokes and stuff.
In general, for a joke or a game mechanic.
I had an idea for this hat that we can't seem to get working. Where I wanted it to be like you have a miner hat on, and it gives you like basically like the triangle of light, and the rest of the level is shadowed. But we just couldn't quite figure out how to get that one to operate in the game world.
Ah, okay. Oh gosh, School of Fish. So one of the core hooks of Shutshimi, or perhaps the core, depending on your perspective, is that, oh gosh, it's shooting lasers now. That every level, you get a randomized, every 10 seconds you get a randomized power-up that changes the way you play a level. So now my weapon can perform charge shots. I can't just hold down the button to do something cool anymore, and oh gosh, that was a stream of laser sauce. Yeah, stuff like that. Was that motivated by, hey, this would be fun just personally, or did you specifically think about, man, a player would really enjoy this, or a player would have these kind of, oh crap, did that just happen moments where they'd want to share it?
It came from like the birth of the game itself. So we originally made this game for a game jam competition called Ludum Dare. And for the particular,
actually.
Yeah, for the particular one that we were doing, the theme of the game was 10 seconds. And so that's where the 10-second waves came from. And then we wanted to have power-ups in between the rounds just because we can't really fit them into like the actual combat, but all shmups have power-ups. So we figured, why don't we just have like a little round in between where you pick your power-ups. And then we decided to give the shop, or like the thing where you pick your upgrades, also have a 10-second timer, so that you're never ever like waiting. You don't get any breathers in the game. So to make it a little more intense, like the upgrade screen, we added that ad-lib thing, so that your upgrades are there, but you have to read through these randomly generated descriptions to add more pressure to it.
And the randomly generated descriptions, there's what actually the power up is, and so the actual
it's
symbol
in there
is
somewhere,
lying to you.
The items up top also correspond directly to what the item is. So, for example, what I'm seeing now is I'm a little bit behind, but you picked the Gradius power up, the orange circle with the arm sticking off of it. That is always the extra arms power up, and the diamond is always that buff level.
Really?
Yeah.
Is there a story of like a diamond butt behind that?
Oh, no. The icons have like, there's no meaning behind them. There's just a bunch of random icons. Like, our artist Wayne drew a bunch of icons. I just stuffed them in the game, and like none of us knew what was going to be what, just because it was all just IDs in a file somewhere. And so there's just a bunch of icons, and there's a bunch of upgrades, and they have a one-to-one mapping, but they don't make any logical sense. Like, the mixtape is a hat. The chocolate bar is rapid fire. That's just how everything ended up lining up together. So there's no, like, forethought into, we should make this thing, we should make this that thing. It's just wherever the pieces fell, and we've just since memorized them.
And originally, they didn't correlate, so the items up top were random, because we wanted to make sure the player was reading, but we found a couple of things. One, players didn't read, so they would always never know what power-ups were what. And two, we just learned that, some people have different learning styles or think differently than others, so we kind of wanted to give people another way to, like, shape their playthrough if they weren't going to do anything but ignore the text.
Interesting. That's really cool, because I remember that earlier build, you released the game on, I think it was available at least through Humble, and it was originally an XBLIG, which is where Indie Gamer Chick, who was a huge advocate of Shutshimi and who started GamesMatter in the first place, that's where she found it.
Yeah, correct.
So has the game being kind of out in the wild for a certain period of time helped assist in the development? Like, did you use that feedback to build a better game?
Going right with that, the Indie Gamer Chick's review was huge for some of the changes we've made, whether she realizes it or not. We listened to a lot of what she had to say with that original review and tried to kind of shore up the shortcomings that she pointed out. And reviews in general, you get a good feeling for what works and what doesn't after showing the game for a while, but then when reviews start coming out, you're like, oh, there was way more we could have done. I mean, a game never feels completely done, even when you're done, I think.
Watching people play the game, especially for the first time, though, also like gives you a lot of valuable information on what works and what doesn't.
When you pick the way too many friends option, it sends a bunch of enemies into the level. Is that a philosophical treatise on how sometimes your friends are your enemies?
I think we're just trying to screw with the player with that.
Yeah, we just wanted to make something that fit into the Mad Libs thing, so sometimes it'd be like, whatever would pop up on the screen. Like, hey, what's better than a basket of kittens? A basket of kittens with too many friends. Or something like that.
And I'll say that I watch people see more friends often and get really excited, and then they'll pick it, and then be like, "Aw, man!"
That's not what I wanted. That's the opposite of what I wanted.
It's gratifying every time.
So is that like inner evil, or you just will like to really mess with your players?
It kind of like paints a picture for them that there's two steps to every upgrade. What the shop screen says and what it really does. And so you don't take anything for granted, but you remember these associations. For example, if it says friends, it'll mean enemies. Sometimes it's a bit literal, like extra armor 2 means you get an extra armor 2. And other times it's just like friendly wordplay, like a brand new home versus you're in a fishbowl. So there's two descriptions for every upgrade, basically.
One thing that we learned from player feedback that was very important was how people fire in shmups. There's no discernible advantage in Shutshimi to tapping the button faster like there are in a lot of old school shooters, and there's no reason for people to tap. And we also learned that if they did the tap method to shoot, it was like they couldn't control quite as well, but some people you couldn't really untrain for that. So if you tap the button to shoot, eventually there will be a prompt that comes up that tells you to hold the button to shoot so they can learn in-game while they're playing. And they don't have to, they can still tap, but that prompt will be there.
You couldn't have just said, "Dude, stop tapping!"
That's that's
basically what we do.
People that tap to just swim the fish right into anything when they were tapping.
Oh gosh.
It always bugs me too when playing shoot 'em ups where you have to mash the button rather than hold it, because there's the only difference between mashing it and holding it is how tired your hand gets. And if the game starts to like physically fatigue you, that's not, in my opinion, a good design.
Well, I mean, you could always kind of do like a Wii U type of thing. Well, I'm sorry, a Wii type of thing where it's like, hey, you have a strap on your hands or on your controller, etc. Hey,
oh yeah, I don't mean for holding it, but I mean constantly pressing a button over and over again when it isn't necessary. It's just like more movement and everything like that. You wear the button down faster, you wear your thumb starts to get tired.
Yeah, we didn't want to give anybody carpal tunnel.
If they're going to be playing this game as much as we hope they are, we want to mitigate that as much as possible.
So, did you notice, speaking of playing as much as possible, did you notice like any player habits, like how long people play the game on average? And did you use that to also influence you to create better designs? Or more compelling?
I would say, like, you mean like when we were showing it off at like shows and stuff?
Yeah.
It's difficult to say because the interesting thing with this game is it's a hard sell to explain the concept to somebody, or even if they look at it at first, it doesn't look. It's strange. The second we get it in somebody's hands, they kind of don't want to put it down, which is really nice. But it's getting it into their hands that we kind of are trying to figure out still, even to this day. So, I think just giving people more choices and adding more random upgrades hooks them in deeper. Just because they like the unexpected. I think people that are drawn to the game like that. It's never... You're always on your back foot trying to figure out what the game's doing to you, rather than, you feeling like you're in control.
That's interesting. So, having that sort of mindset, was what have you removed from the game to sort of fulfill your goals and etc.?
Well,
We
originally...
Pretty much.
Well, go on, Garret.
Like I say, one of the only things we've actually removed from the game, we used to have an upgrade called 10 Seconds of Heaven, and I think it's probably still in the Xbox Live Indie Games version. And all it was just an empty round. There was no enemies there. We wanted to have like a peaceful round where you couldn't die, so we added the bouncy castle room. And once that was in, there was no reason to keep the old one. But like, we didn't really take stuff out of the game. We would change stuff if it didn't work. Actually, there was another upgrade we took out, which I really liked, which was called Trigger Finger. And instead of rapid fire, instead of holding the button to shoot, for that one round, you had to press the button to shoot, but your shot speed would be higher, so if you could press the button fast enough, you would shoot it faster than you normally would.
So it kind of...
Yeah, take that one out, because it would throw people off. People weren't used to the fact that, like, oh, I used to hold the button down to shoot, and now I have to press it rapidly. And when the round ended, they'd keep doing it. They'd just keep pressing the button.
So you kind of trained your players to ignore what you tried to do. You just taught them.
We trained them wrong, as a joke.
The problem was the joke was too good, and they started to believe it.
Inverted movement. Oh, this is the worst.
You can do it. You can do it. But now you'll never forget the pink hammer.
And so that's the thing. Now you can associate it with an object, so you can play faster and just get even deeper into the game rather than always reading.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
eventually
memorization
you'll look
aspect.
at the shop screen, and then you'll know instantly what all three of them do, and then you can quickly figure out what's going to optimize my run.
Which is extra exciting when you play multiplayer, because there's specific upgrades for multiplayer that don't exist in single player, and they have unique icons. So even I don't really remember what the multiplayer icons are, which is good because then it creates a more random fun time for everybody.
What's your favorite icon?
Favorite icon? I want to say it's the coffee cup with a picture of a coffee cup on it, and that's one of the multiplayer only ones.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah, Wayne was drawing because we agreed that like we needed to have a coffee cup in there because we're all big coffee drinkers, and he drew the coffee cup, and he was drawing something on the cup. I don't remember what it was that he was drawing, but he was drawing a little icon on the cup. And I just looked at him and I was like, "Are you drawing a coffee cup on that coffee cup?" And he's like, "No, it's and then he just started laughing. And I was like, "You should have a picture of a coffee cup on the coffee cup in case they don't know what a coffee cup is."
I
And
think
then
my
that-
personal favorite icon is the slam basketball.
So, like, do you have that be one of the first, one of the first items you encounter, so they'll welcome them to the jam?
Well, it's random, so not always, but
Preferably.
we do want to give them a chance to do their dance.
Yeah, that's definitely the goal. Goal here. This is amazing. It's just amazing.